Hi, Mark White here, Idaho Estate Planning. And, we used to have a radio show. We did 5 years, 250 episodes, and we've now moved to podcasts. And with the COVID thing going, we're using the Zoom, and we're almost getting smart with using the Zoom thing. And, one of the benefits is that more people have access to it. And you can kind of come back and watch these anytime you want. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about, it's maybe not the most fun stuff that we talk about, but the idea today is to help you be safe. And if it's not you, then a loved one, trying to keep them safe. And we're not talking about falling down or anything like that. We're talking about losing money. And so we're going to talk a little bit about fraud. So today we have with us Ed Fritz of the Boise Police Department and Fred, you're with the Crime Prevention Unit.
That's right. Supervisor.
Department?
Yep. Crime Prevention Unit Supervisor.
Supervisor, okay. So this is, I know that you see something maybe new every week. Maybe more often?
It seems like truthfully that it's the same old stuff.
Oh, really?
Yes, the different people perpetrating it take their own spin on it. And so you'll see the themes kind of play themselves out depending on what time of year it is.
Oh, goodness gracious.
What's going on in the political climate. Everything else like that is just kind of evolves. Because the things we've been hearing about today, obviously, are stuff we heard about before, but they're unique in some of the ways that they perpetrate them now with technology, with things of that nature. But it's still so prevalent that people can lose hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of dollars,
or hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, exactly, and this can be really just life-altering money, and that's why we try to educate people as much as we can. We encourage conversations just like we're having as much as we can with older adults, with their family members, with anyone that could be a potential victim or potential target. And it really seems like it is anyone anymore these days.
Well, and part of this is that you're dealing with good people. These are good people. They love to help out. They're willing to jump in, and we don't want to tell them to be jerks, but they if they're going to still be good people, they got to be careful because folks take advantage of that.
Oh, exactly. Right.
So I know you have a PowerPoint. Let's jump into that. You've got the steering wheel, so you can drive this thing. Let's educate.
All right, so hope you can all see my screen. And truthfully, there's so much in scams and identity theft. What I have here is a scaled down version of the whole piece like that. And so there's still a lot of information we have here, but there's just so much out there. And what I try to do when I'm educating people is, obviously give them the things to look for, but try to present as many real life of these situations that they've had. So everything that we're talking about is because we've had a case on it. We've seen a victim to it, and we have real information from either that victim or been able to go out and gather information from others on it. And so I'm under the opinion that the more you can see it, the more you can hear about it before you get that email, before you get that phone call, hopefully the better prepared you're going to be to recognize it and not answer the phone and not click on the link and not do the things that they want you to do that are going to make you at risk for losing hundreds if not thousands and thousands of dollars with that. So when we talk about the scam piece, as soon as I can get but before, we've never really kept a good track of this because these crimes, they don't fall under one certain code or anything for us, and so trying to get our head wrapped around it. Last year was the first year we started actually kind of keep track better and better, so we know what we're going to categorize as a scam and what not, because they could be a grand theft, they could be a computer crime, they could be all sorts of different fraud crimes that come into it. But just tracking last year on kind of that first basis, we came up with a dollar figure of what was reported to us. Mark, any guesses what you'd have what that dollar figure would be?
Good grief. It's got to be I'd say you got to be in the millions. How many, I don't know, but you and I were talking about just one case. We were talking in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then one I mentioned to you is another $300,000 or $400,000. And I'm guessing that this is just what's reported, and you're going to tell us that there's even more.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to tell you. So we tracked last year to $3.3 million.
Oh, good grief.
And there's a few cases in there, a few very large cases that helped raise that total. We see more probably, the hundreds and thousands here and there, but it just takes one case like that to ruin someone's life. And that number from what is all indicated, what the stats say out there, about a quarter actually gets reported to the police department. A quarter gets reported to us. Truthfully, that number could be obviously 3-4 times what that is. It could be in excess of $12 million that just reported to Boise, Idaho. That doesn't include anyone that lives in Eagle. That doesn't include anyone that lives in Meridian that may have fallen victim as well. But it's just so much money out there that these people will try to take advantage of, try to get from us our hard-earned money. And they're not going to stop, so we can't stop we can't put our guard down. We have to keep going and educating folks. We have to keep going and educating ourselves on what's out there, what's the next thing like that, and try to keep up the best we can. And it's always going to be a battle, but it's the more we can help, the more we get partners out there talking about it, educating folks about it, the better off we're all going to be about it, because life-changing money is what we're talking about here a lot of times. And if we're talking about a retired person, that income source is not what it used to be, obviously.
Yeah.
So there's not that ability to make that money back up, and so that's altering their lives, their families' lives, everything else from there.
Good.
And in the end, what do they want? Obviously, money. First and foremost, they want to get our money. There's a reason why they're doing this, and so they can make a profit off at us. Things they'll look at as well to try to get from us in some of these scams are information type situations. So that personal information, whether it's Medicare information, whether it's Social Security numbers, whether it's anything that can be make a profit off them, or to further fraud schemes and other things that they're going to do with our information. Most of these situations are requiring trust. They want us to trust them. That's the police department calling them. That's the person from Social Security Administration calling them. That's their grandchildren calling them to go through these situations. Fear. They want us to be fearful a lot of times of the situation in of itself, and so that we may act without thinking. We may proceed in a hurry without really thinking these situations through, because the more we can truthfully sit down and think about what's happening, and the more we can talk to someone else about what's happening, the more we're able to prevent these type of things from occurring. Sometimes they'll play off greed, and greed isn't always the best word for it, but I also kind of tie that in with desperation as well, because I've seen cases where people were in very, very bad states financially. And so the money they lost, or the money that was promised to them with this scam situation that was presented, was going to be, once again, life-changing, life-altering them for the better. And so they took that situation, they took the person's word for it, and lost even more money that they couldn't afford to lose from that, and putting them in a worse situation with that. Once again, out of desperation, they act, because this could be, once again, life-changing, altering situation for them. And unfortunately, they end up into situations where they lose even more money that they could afford to lose, and put them in so much more of a horrible financial situation with that. So how do they reach us? Really, I don't think anyone has the ability not to be reached some way out there anymore. And so we see a lot of phone calls, probably about a little over a quarter of what we see is phone calls. We see so much more through emails, through text, through social media, through online methods. We still see stuff that is forwarded to us through the mail. We still see things where we're going out to these different apps and things like that, and people contacting us through there. And from time to time, we still get that person knocking on our door with that scam situation of repairs, whichever else like that. And so pretty much, if they want to reach us, they're going to try to reach us through so many ways, and that's why we can't really let our guard down in any of them. We have to kind of keep on our toes, so that we're aware for that situation really presents itself.
So something to keep in mind is we're not going to be able to just keep them away.
Exactly. they're going to try. And so whether it's through a phone call, whether it's through an email, whether it's social media, whatever, they're going to keep reaching out to us no matter what we do. If we're on the no-call list, which we recommend, they're still going to call. If we have our email filtered, it's still going to get through from time to time. We're still going to go to websites and we're still going to see things pop up here and there. There's ways, there's methods that these people are going to still keep contacting us again and again. And that's why we keep our guard up, because they're not going to stop, so we can't stop by putting our guard down. And so higher level, what we tell people to watch for is really look for these kind of 6 things. Again, we've seen scam situations that might cover all 6 of these, or we might see scam situations that cover maybe one of these. But truly looking through the situation in itself and how it presents itself to hopefully someone to recognize that this might be a scam type of situation. So the first thing we've seen in so many of these is kind of that surprise situation. So it's something that you didn't wake up to expecting to have to deal with that morning. On a good basis, we'll see these through lottery scams, through grant scams, things of that nature, where people will approach us either online, through phone calls, whichever like that, and present these situations too good to be true, that we won Publishers Clearinghouse, that we have a check waiting for $5 million for us and keys to a new Mercedes. The catch is we have to pay the money ahead of time for that. Or the bad situations from there, having someone call up and saying that your social security number has been compromised, that you have a warrant for your arrest, that a grandchild is in a jail cell somewhere and needs you to get them out. Once again, situations that we're not going to run into very frequently, if at all, in the course of our daily, week, life, month, year, whichever. And so if it's, once again, those kind of those unbelievable situations, that should be a good indicator for that. They always present the urgency with there that you have to act now. And that's so we don't really sit down and we don't think it through. The quicker we act, the less are we going to have to think that it's the scam situation, that's a bad situation. And so we've seen these with warrant scams, for example. We've had people say that an officer is going to come to your doorstep and arrest you within the next hour, unless you do this. No one wants to be arrested, and so they would rather go down to the store and buy the gift cards, wire the money, do whichever else, and avoid being arrested. So many instances they were going to request some sort of intrusion into our lives, and that's either going to be through personal access, through personal information, things of that nature. We've seen, I just was talking to someone else about a scam situation over Social Security cards and Social Security information today, where a person presents themselves that your Social Security number is being compromised. Now I need you to verify all this information for me. Okay, now I need to get your bank information so we can verify and make sure that's safe as well. And even on the kind of the far side of that, we've seen so many scams recently that this computer that we have in front of us, these devices that we have in front of us that have so much information on there and so much access into our lives, they're presenting themselves a situation where we're actually letting them into this and giving them remote access to our computers, which is talking about an Amazon scam today, where the person calls up, presents a credible enough situation that they're with Amazon security and they're trying to help the person. And the person lets them in to have access to the computers. And from there, they have access to really our life is on computers anymore. Our finances are on there. They have access to so much of our data, our information that can do so horrible damage to our lives that way. Secrecy is one we really try to emphasize on with that. We've had situations where, whether it's a grandparent scam and the grandchildren request that you don't tell mom or dad, or we've had other situations where, this is an investigation. If to cooperate in this investigation, you can't tell a single soul, you can't tell your wife, you can't tell anyone else for it. And we're going to send you to the store and the cashier is going to question your purchase. You have to lie to them to get them to go through with this. And once again, they want it to be secret. They don't want you to tell someone, because kind of like with the urgency piece, where they want you to act now. They want you not to tell anyone, because someone else is going to be able to hopefully think this through a little bit and have that person recognize what's going on in that situation. And that's why we encourage people to talk to somebody about it, to pump the brakes, to slow down, to talk to a child, to talk to a neighbor, to talk to a friend, even call up the Boise Police Department. We have people do that still, and I would encourage that. I would rather someone call us up and ask us a situation than fall for a scam because they were told not to, or they didn't think they could do that. We'll see some of these situations that are just a little bit too good or too bad in some instances to be true, kind of with the lottery scams, the grant scams, where there's kind of the money for very little type of situations. or the bad ones again, where they're saying our access has been compromised for social security numbers, computers, accounts, this and that. A big thing that everyone can focus on with it is just the payment method. And so the payment methods, that is going to come down to at some point in time where they're going to try to get money from you. And the payment method is always going to be through methods that are going to be very hard to trace, and especially hard for anyone, your bank, anyone, law enforcement, to get back those money. Gift cards is a huge one. If anyone wants you to buy gift cards to pay for, really, you name it, when it comes down to it, that's a huge red flag there. Money transfers, we hear Bitcoin come up quite a bit. We see a lot of scams where they're dealing with the different online, like different cash apps we have on our phones to transfer money around. All ways that, once again, when that money is gone, it's near impossible, if not impossible, to get that back. So just some of those things for people to be watch out for. If we're going to look for a few of them, that to just kind of really focus in on, that payment method is going to be a huge one for that. And so anytime people start talking about gift cards and money transfers, things like that, that's when we want people to kind of pump those brakes. The secrecy piece, the privacy piece is huge with that too, because they don't want you to, once again, think these situations through. And probably if we were to think of a third one, it's really going to be that urgency side of things, trying to get you to act very, very quickly, because the more quickly we act, the less rationally we're going to act, the less we're going to be able to think through these situations.
So I got a question before you change the slide here. The situations that I have been made aware of, and we've seen a few, in the cold light of day, say the next morning, the person that has just been taken advantage of clearly can see that this was a bad situation and they made a mistake. And so if we could get everybody to slow down just a little bit, I think that would help immensely.
Oh, it would help dramatically from that. We've had people show up in the Boise Police Department at our front counter where they just left the store, they just got off the phone, relaying all the information to the person, and then had time to really just sit down in their car and wait a second and kind of think it through a little bit more and kind of have one of those oh no moments, and drove to the police station. And unfortunately, even with a situation like that, in that case, it was the money was gone. It was, the writing was on the wall. It was never back. But just the fact, and that's why we try to work with so many people from banks to our retailers out there, to people like yourselves, to help educate people, to help be that resource for people, to help them kind of slow that piece down, think about it before they make that one step, which is almost like up to a point of no return, to get your money back. Once you give them the numbers, once you wire the money, once you do whatever, it's become so much more difficult of a battle. That doesn't mean it's something we can't win, we can't help out with, but it's not as easy as it would have been prevented with just taking that time to talk to somebody about it.
So it seems to me that one of the first things is they're looking at this and go, man, that's just too good to be true. Great. Good idea. Thanks for thinking that. Now slow down.
Yep.
And then you can see how much pressure they're going to try to put on you to get this or that. And then it seems to me a great thing at that point would be, well, let me just call my son.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just call my daughter. You know what? I have an attorney. Let me just call him and make sure that this is okay. Now, of course, the person perpetrating the fraud does not want you to do that.
Exactly.
So they're going to push back. And it seems to me, if you could hang on a few minutes, mm-hmm. and if they start to push back, then boy, you've hit all of these, and all of a sudden you've moved yourself out of the urgency. And maybe you get a moment to sit down and think about it and go, yeah, you know what? There's a reason that this is too good to be true.
Yep. Time is our best friend really with this, because people can really think it through that much more. They can talk to someone more with.
Got it. Very good.
So hugely helpful when it comes to dealing with any of these.
Yeah, I can imagine.
All right. Phone scams is what we talk about first, because we see a lot of very obvious ones, and pretty much everyone either has a phone of some method, whether it's a cell phone, whether it's a work phone, whether it's their home phone for the method. And so it's so easy to really get a hold of really anyone this way for that. This year, we've seen so much on the Social Security scams. And that is where you're contacted by someone over the phone. It's either a voice recording, which I have a couple of examples of, or a person that is live, or you transfer to someone where they tell you this story that does happen to people. Social Security numbers do get compromised. Bad things happen that way to ruin your finances. And so it's a kind of a believable type of situation. And they'll walk them through the process. They'll get the information from them from there. And it ultimately comes down to that payday for them, where to help you through the process, whether it's for the services to clean up, whether it's for the investigation, whether it's for them trying to put your money in a safer spot so fraudsters can't use it. There always comes that payday for them at the end, where they're trying to get the money for you in those different methods that we talked about once again. So I'm going to try to play the first clip here, and we'll see if this comes through good.
2:24 p.m. The reason you have received this phone call from our department is to inform you that we just suspend your Social Security number because we found some suspicious activity. So if you want to know about this case, just press 1. Thank you.
And if you ended up pressing 1, you're going to be put on hold for a while until someone comes on there that is going to claim that they're there to help you. They're there to assist you through this. Their goal in this is to protect you of that, which, it is a scary situation. And someone would want someone to help them through that. That was actually from my home phone that I recorded. The next one I have here was from my work phone at the police department, where I received this message.
Regarding fraudulent activities under your Social Security number. This is an enforcement action executed by the U.S. higher authority stating your Social Security number going to be blocked. Intending your serious attention, ignoring this will be an intentional second attempt to avoid initial appearance before a magistrate judge or a grand jury for a federal criminal offense. This is the final attempt to reach you. To resolve this issue immediately and to speak to a federal agent, call back number 321-517-0018. I repeat, 321-517-0018. Thank you.
And in there, they put all sorts of scary, urgent language and stuff like that. Federal authorities, judges, not final attempt to do this, trying to encourage you to act from that. I just received a call this morning that my department cell phone is what popped up on someone's caller ID for the Social Security fraud call that someone was getting, and they were nice enough to call me and let me know that. So it can truthfully come from any number. They can spoof the numbers. They're going to put numbers up there that you want to answer. They're going to be a little more enticed to answer when it comes back to communicating with them. But ultimately, that number could mean anything. It could be something. It could be pointless from there. They just want you to call them back or hit that 1 to proceed next in the scheme that they're going to perpetrate.
Interesting. When they said this was the final attempt to reach you, of course, there were no other attempts to reach you.
Exactly.
And just, again, I think you'll probably talk about this, but Social Security and the Marshal's Office and the IRS will never call you. They do not start with a phone call.
Exactly. No one's going to call to warn you. It would be a great indicator if they get that phone call and someone says these bad things have happened like that, even for arrest warrants and stuff like that. We're not going to call you before we arrest you. Social Security is not going to call you. IRS is not going to call you. All these pieces are not going to call you. It's going to be through, an official letter that gets sent through the U.S. mail. Unless you get that, obviously it's going to be a scam in these situations. If you have questions about it, you have worries about your Social Security number, whichever else like that, you have worries about your fraud situations for taxes, look up the phone, go to the actual phone number itself that you can find that's published for these agencies, and call them up and discuss it with them, as opposed to calling back the number they have in the message or pressing 1 or anything else like that. So there's ways we want you to verify, and you can verify those situations.
And now, and this is a little bit different than getting like a bad email, in that an email, you can hit the link and it's too late. Yep. You've hit the link. But if you press 1, it's not too late yet, but then this is where the pressure comes.
Exactly.
This is where they're going to put the urgency on you, and they're going to try to scare you. and try to get you to not think, rationally, like you would do 365 and a half other days of the year, 365 days and 24 hours and 30 minutes of the rest of the year. You could think through this, but they don't want you to. So if you do push the one, all of a sudden you're going to get the pressure. It's going to be pressure filled.
Yep. But it's still not too late to hang up. It's still not late
That is
to
correct.
call someone else, talk to anyone else.
Yeah, it's not the same as hitting that link on your computer and all of a sudden you may have compromised your computer and a number of other things. So yeah, hanging up is always good, because I get these at home and I hang up, and guess what? They don't call me right back.
Mm-hmm.
You would think if it was that urgent, they would turn around and call me right back.
This is the one thing we tell people to do. Like, I think you kind of mentioned this earlier. People want to be nice. People want to be helpful. People don't want to be rude.
Yes.
This is okay. It's okay to be rude here because in this instance, you're protecting yourselves, you're protecting your family, you're protecting others, you're protecting your finances with this, and your life is better off for being rude and not answering the phone or hanging up the phone from that pressure-filled situation.
And one more thing, you and I have talked about this before. If you're worried that you can't hold up to that pressure, that urgency they're putting on you, don't pick up the phone.
Yep.
In fact, I recommend to anybody over, say, the age of 3, if you don't know the phone number, don't answer the phone. Don't pick it up. Don't push the button. If it's legit, they'll leave a message. Now, yes,
Exactly.
You've got a couple of messages that aren't legit, but most of them don't actually leave. They want to catch you live, and they want to get this going. So first step is, if you don't know them, don't pick it up. Don't put yourself in that situation. Then You don't have to worry about pushing one.
Exactly.
All right, keep us driving here.
All right, we've seen actually so many tech support scams.
This one's horrible.
This
one is horrible. It just is.
And we've seen unfortunately, some very large victimizations with this for thousands and thousands of dollars. Because, like I said, there's so much that's on our computer that we want to protect, that we want these people to help us to protect if we think it's a situation. So we've seen early in the year phone calls from Microsoft, Apple, which if they pick one of those, they probably covered half the computers, if not every computer that's out there, one of the two. We've been getting a lot of phone calls recently from security from Amazon. Once again, everyone's pretty much got an Amazon account now.
Oh, yeah.
Everything online. And so they're presenting the legitimate situation that they're from this person, and there's something that's wrong with your computer, there's something wrong with your account, something wrong with that, something on your wireless life, your laptop that you need to fix, or there's going to be, once again, those very, very, very bad consequences, and you need to do this immediately. And so they will now walk you through the process of hitting this button, this key, reading to you what's on the screen, for them to actually gain access to your computer, where they can do whatever they want to it. They can access all your accounts on it. They can, do what you name, put software on there to monitor your activity, to steal your information. So kind of like we said with Social Security number, the IRS, stuff like that, they're not going to call you first. It would be great if Microsoft was that great with their customer service that they just automatically knew you were having problems on your computer and they would contact you, but it's not the way it works. And so when you get these phone calls, when these outlandish situations, once again, of this immediate act to fix your accounts, to fix your computer, once again, don't answer as the first good piece.
Yeah.
And just remember, they're not going to call you first on there, and so don't call them back if you really need to have XYZ fix on your computer. You're worried that it's something bad that's happened to it, whether it's software or something like that. Obviously go to a friend, go to a maybe a child that's a little more techie these days with that.
Or a grandchild.
A grandchild from there, or take it down to the place where you bought it from. There's a lot of great folks that repair computers, that do things like that. Unplug it from the wall and take it off the wireless, take it down to them and have them go through it and see what the damage is, or if there even is any damage with that.
Which there usually isn't, right? They didn't call because there was actually something going on, at least not till they get in it.
Yep, exactly. We had this horrible situation where this was one of the first scams we were really able to help someone with once we started our education methods through our retail community. And had the person from I was good friends with from the retailer call me up after work and say, we have a guy here, and he says he needs to buy $10,000 worth of gift cards to give to the computer repair company to give them their money back. Which I'm like, whoa, wait a second, kind of just let's slow down from there. And what the situation happened was a few months prior, he had a pop-up on his computer screen, which I have an example of that in the next slide, where it came up on there and it was saying that, there's bad things happen to your computer, call this number. And they provided the phone number on there, claimed to be, Apple support, Microsoft support, something of that nature. Oh, and so he called them. They said, they walked him through the whole process to install their software on his computer, which they gave them access to everything on his computer. It actually gave them access to his bank account because he paid them for their services. They called back up a few months later and said, our software is no longer compatible with your computer. What we're going to do, since we're the nice, good company, we're going to refund all your money back. And so, hey, great. I have my computer protected for a few months. I'm not out any money. That's a good situation for them. They claimed to have accidentally, instead of refunding back his $300, they accidentally gave him back $30,000 too much. And he was actually even able to log on into his computer, look at his bank accounts, and sure enough, in his checking account, he had $30,000 too much in there. And so to help the person out that was trying to help him, he agreed to go to his bank, wire $10,000, go to the first retailer, buy $10,000 in gift cards and give them the information, then go to another retailer and buy another $10,000 in gift cards. Luckily enough for him, that second retailer was the one that called, that kind of said, something's not right with this, that called me. And we were able to talk him out of the situation. He actually left there, went back to his bank, and his bank was able to miraculously get that $10,000 back to him,
my goodness.
which was a great situation. And so what had happened is they gave him access to computers and all his accounts. They actually transferred money between his accounts out of a savings account to his checking account, which made him look like he had
my goodness
in there. And so he was actually giving them back his hard-earned money in those situations. And so we have those things come up, those scary sounds on the computer, which kind of go like this.
So that our support engineers can walk you through the removal process over the phone. If you close this page before calling us, we will be forced to disable your computer to prevent further damage to our network, and will send a copy of this report to the concerned authorities to raise a complaint against your IP address. Microsoft spyware alert. Pornographic spyware, riskware detected, error number 0x80072EE.
With once again, very scary talk on there, very technical talk, trying to get you to act immediately on there because there's bad things on your computer. But ultimately, they're looking for you to, on this screen, enter your password information so they can get into your computer. They want you to call them so that they can help you out and install the software on their computer, or click on those links that are going to, once again, do those bad things, put on spyware, viruses, everything else on your computer from that. So once again, just avoiding the temptation to act there, because until you click, until you make that phone call, until you enter that password, you're still safe. And that's why there you talk to somebody, you talk to that person, you ask that question, to call someone else up before you proceed with that. If you're that worried about your computer, unplug it from the wall, take it off the wireless, do the whole piece like there, and then follow through, as opposed to going through with how they want you to act with that situation. We still get these from time to time, and we've heard these they've come from the Boise Police Department, from prosecutors' offices to DEA, you name it. But once again, presenting that situation that you're wanted for missing court, you're wanted for not paying taxes, you're wanted for whatever reason from there. And unless you want to be arrested right now, you need to pay up for the fees for the court process, the whole piece like that. And they talk you into going down to retailer XYZ, going to your bank, sending money, buying gift cards, and giving them that information. Law enforcement is not going to call you if they want to arrest you. It's really that simple. The officer is not going to call and give you an hour warning to pay up or to go disappear. If they really want to arrest you from whatever situation it is like that. And so,
if they have probable cause.
Yeah.
If they have a warrant, they don't need to call you. They don't have to give you any warning whatsoever. And in fact, why would they?
Exactly. They're not going to in that essence. So, but if you're really concerned that you missed that court case, that you didn't pay that fine, you didn't do whatever, there's resources where you can look up, or you can call your local law enforcement agency like the Boise Police Department, the Ada County Sheriff's Office, or even a lot of them will have websites that will have the warrants listed on there that you can go and check to see if your name's with that. If it is, you know what, go take care of that situation. But once again, if you get that phone call, I will guarantee that it's not going to be, your name's not going to show up on there when you call law enforcement to check warrants. Your name's not going to pop up. But I'd rather once again have someone call us, call dispatch, call whoever, and check to see, then physically go through and pay those monies, pay those fines because they're worried about being arrested. And this kind of ties into a kind of a twist that we've seen recently on it. It seems for some reason they're always coming and presenting themselves of this legit illicit activity with your social security number, things of that nature. And it's always coming from Texas, they claim, for some reason.
Why Texas? What's going on in Texas?
That's a good question. I want to know from that as well. But they always say it's been in Texas. They'll talk scary stories. Once again, fraud. They'll talk about rental vehicles. They'll talk about drugs in the rental vehicle, things of that nature. And the person on the phone, whether they claim to be from Social Security number or Social Security Administration, or they claim to be with law enforcement, they're going to claim they're going to help you through the investigation. They need you to process through the investigation. And they're going to do things to have you protect your money. One of those things we've seen is buy gift cards. A person that's going to be accessing your information, accessing your accounts. If the money's on a gift card, they can't access that, which is, I guess, true. But at the same time, they take those gift card numbers away from you. They take that and they go and spend them very, very quickly. It's same with the transfer of your money. They have you transfer it, saying they're putting it into a safe account so that can be protected. But once again, they're taking your money away from you and they're going and using it for other purposes, washing it, buying gift cards, laundering it through other methods, and you're never going to see your money again that way. Unfortunately, with this scam, we've had a very large victim this year lose so much money, and because he's wanting to help law enforcement, he's wanting to participate in the investigation, he's wanting to protect his money. He ended up losing over $700,000 through gift cards, through money transfers with this, which, like we've said so many times, that's life altering. And life altering to the negative in this case, and so his so much worse off.
Well, and that's quite a commitment of time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is playing along with this scam for a long time. This is not this afternoon or overnight. That should be another clue in our thinking here, is that, oh my gosh, they're really asking a lot of me.
And that's what we've seen in a lot of the cases. They'll do that one first initial hit where it might be going and buying, a few $1,000s worth of gift cards. You proceed with it, they're probably going to come back again and say, oh, this has happened now, and now you need to do this, and ask you for even a larger chunk of money. We've seen this with lottery situations. We've seen this in situations like this, where it keeps going again and again and again. Obviously, the secrecy thing, the privacy thing plays into this, where they don't want you to tell your wife. They don't want you to tell your family. They don't want you to tell anyone else, because that would ruin their investigation. and they're
right. They're right. It would, as soon as you tell anybody. And it seems to me, in the situations that I'm aware of, it's like that triggers for so many. As soon as they say something, they go, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've just been had. So say it sooner.
Exactly.
Call somebody sooner. Oh my goodness gracious.
And we still see grandparent scams. We don't see them as frequently, but they seem to pop up every once in a while. And truthfully, they just need to call phone numbers, whether it's an automatic dialer, whatever like that. And if they're calling landlines, there's probably a fairly good chance they're going to get an older adult from there, because everyone else has cell phones now, things of that nature. Now we've seen more of these pop up on cell phones since everyone has those anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just like people have heard. They'll call up and they'll say grandma, grandpa, depending if it's a male or female voice answering. Once the person answers, is that you, Johnny? Is that you, Jenny? Whichever else, that's when they proceed with the whole piece like that of, I'm having this outlandish situation, they present it, I've been in an accident, I've been arrested, something bad has happened, and you can't tell mom because I'm supposed to be at class, I'm supposed to be at school, I'm supposed to be wherever else except for in this situation. And they'll proceed to have you go through and look through those payment methods from there. And so while every grandparent would want to help their grandkid, I am amendment for that. That's why grandparents are so great, because they would do things for their family members, for their grandkids.
Oh, goodness.
But we want you to talk to the kid. We want you to talk to the parents. Verify that situation. Even if it's just trying to call up that person and see if they're still at college and actually talk to them, we want you to take that and pause, pump those brakes, and verify that situation before you go through with it. Play a little bit of the one phone call we had saved.
Hi, Grandpa. Hi. You know who this is? Randy? Yeah. What's the matter? I've been in a car wreck. All right, Dad.
And it goes through a whole video with that, kind of how they describe their experience. But once again, just started with that one phone call, and kind of they fell bait for the first question of, you know who this is? They said the name, and that's who he was. The rest of the time he was talking to him for that situation. We've seen a lot of lottery winners this year where they've gotten a call from, it's usually Publishers Clearinghouse, it seems like, again. And they presented these great situations of winning millions and millions of dollars, which, you know, if that happens to you, that's a great thing. That's a very good thing. That helps you so much. But the odds of that happening are so minuscule, but people want to believe that the situation could and would happen to them from that. And so they present that the lucky person for doing this or that. You have millions of dollars. A lot of times they'll throw a brand new Mercedes in there, it seems like. And all you have to do to claim this is, pay the taxes up first. And so people will think, great, taxes are only a couple $1,000. We go ahead and pay that. Then they'll call back again. You know what? There's going to be shipping fees or registration fees for the vehicle, and we need you to pay this. And I already paid $2,000. I might as well pay the another $4,000 for that, and they pay. And as we've seen this bubble up into just thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and obviously the check's never going to come. Ed McMahon's not going to be at your door with a big check to present it to you with the cameras and stuff like that, because unfortunately you're dealing with a criminal on the phone. And a lot of times the one thing we tell the people, obviously the too good to be true situations like that, if you didn't enter, you're not going to win. It's really
all right.
Simple. I keep hoping to win the Powerball, but I don't buy my tickets, and I unfortunately keep losing every single. We can never get any money from there. But
there's an old joke about the clergyman that keeps praying and says, God, I need help. We're building the children's, chapel and da. And if you could just help me win the lottery, we'd have enough money to do this. And then one night he hears this voice that says, Padre, what? Meet me halfway. Buy a ticket.
Exactly.
You got to do something to win these.
Mm-hmm. But once again, before you pay, they're not going to have you pay up front for this and that, the next thing. And so follow up, whether it's, once again, talking to a neighbor, talking to a child, a grandchild, talking to someone in the whole process. They kind of pump the brakes on that and try to verify those situations before you act. We've even had a few victims from this actually send physical cash through the mail to them. They had the one person go and withdraw, I believe it was right around $9,000 from their bank account, go to the store, buy a magazine, hide the cash in the pages, go and take it down to the local FedEx office and try to overnight it to an address. Once again, so that you're paying cash, you're getting it there quickly, you're going to get your money much more quickly in return, and in essence, lose tens of thousands of dollars that way.
And as it works out, that was a method that you can't trace.
Exactly. Once again you send it to wherever, a lot of times they'll send it to even third parties that are even mailing stuff for them, or post office boxes made up into fake accounts, whatever else from there. If you send cash in the mail, it's gone. It's gone unless you can stop that shipment, and you have to act so quickly to stop those shipments through FedEx, whichever else from that, before they're actually delivered and gone.
Oh, goodness.
You're never going to see them again. We see a lot through email and text. This is actually an example one of our victims shared with us, where out of the blue, they received a text from Agent William O. Moore, who was with the Federal Government Grant Award Program, and presented a situation. Just reading through that first piece of the text there. The program is to help old, young, retired workers and citizens to make their living, which by that, they pretty much covered every single person there is.
Didn't miss anybody there, did they?
It didn't. And so in this case, the person's like, yep, I'm in a bad situation. This is great for me. I'm going to want that sum of $250,000. And so they were able to scrape together enough, the $1,500 that they were having to pay for the fees and taxes, and sent that off. And unfortunately, that check for $250,000 never came with that. Once again, they never applied for a grant, and it just showed up on their cell phone randomly one day. And so it was a good situation to them. They played it through, and unfortunately, they were out $1,500, and never received that check or that deposit for the $250,000.
No.
We'll see them through phishing emails, and this is a great example of one that might seem innocent enough from supposedly Chase Bank, where we've accepted your deposit. Click on the details below to confirm the deposit, confirm the transactions, and so they want you to click on the chase.com/confirmation link below to take you to what's going to be probably a pretty poor spot that's going to have you enter in account information, personal information, things of that to steal that information there. If not, put horrible things on your email, your software, your computer, whichever else with that. What the person actually did in this case, before they clicked on there, they took the mouse and hung it over the Chase email address up there, which came back to a task272@cornell.edu email address. Which, if it's going to be coming from Chase, it's going to be coming from a Chase email address with that. Or we've seen people mirror those email addresses, create their ones very close to them, where as opposed to Chase with one S, there's Chase with two S's, or there's no E on the end to make it look just close enough that someone might fall for that, think it's a legitimate situation, legitimate thing, and they need to click on the account with that. We've seen many people approach through social media, whether it's presenting financial situations or government grants or lottery. Just contact us out of the blue on Facebook, for example. This is an actual case we've dealt with here locally, where we received word from a retailer of a gentleman there on the screen that had been into the retailer on a few days in a row, buying iTunes gift cards, which just seemed kind of strange to them. And so they were able to give us enough information where we could contact this person. He lived out of county, and so we had the local sheriff's department go have a conversation with him to see what was wrong, because obviously the retailer and us, we feared the worst, and sure enough, it was the worst situation, where the gentleman, once we talked to him, he was contacted through Facebook by a friend of his, received a friend request. He's known him for 30 years, didn't think anything else. He knows the person, he accepts it. And then shortly after that, he starts receiving messages from this person and telling him about all these, kind of financial situations, financial pitfalls that he can help him out with if he goes ahead and goes through this. And so this is the local person's Facebook account, very great person, talked to him, very nice gentleman. And we started looking through his friends once he gave us the information. And the person that contacted him out of the blue was Donald Mosley. He just so happened to have two friends being Donald Mosley, the exact same pictures on that. And so the Donald Mosley, the situation he presented to him was, what you're going to do, you're going to apply for this job. Your job is going to be going to retailers and buying gift cards. Once you buy those gift cards, you're going to send them the gift card information off the back. You're going to text it to them, you're going to email it to them. And then they're going to send you not only the reimbursement for those gift cards you bought, they're going to send you $100,000 for your payment. We wouldn't want to turn $6,000 into $100,000 with very, very little effort. But once again, one of those too good to be true situations. So he gave them the gift card numbers, and the money was very quickly drained off of those. So being aware of those social media pieces like that, because so many people can go in and kind of make up those situations that we could fall for. They can make up the situation based off of what we see on our Facebook page. If it is private, if it's not private, it's available to anyone can see. To kind of make these scams seem as realistic as they can through us, whether that's getting grandchild information for a grandparent scam, whether it's getting friend information and creating fake accounts for friends to friend you on there and try to do other scams that way. And so if you are on social media, which pretty much anyone is now anymore, lock it down as much as you can from there. So your privacy settings need to be just your friends, just your immediate people for that, not friends and friends. You want to have your circle from there as tight as possible, so you can still share those grandkid pictures with, those people inside your inner circle, but it's not open enough where people outside your inner circle can take advantage of those situations and take advantage of your information that's out there.
Yeah, and the that last one that you've mentioned, someone's been hacked. If you start getting more friend requests from people, you're sitting going, I think they're already a friend. Well, don't accept it. Because somebody's already been hacked, and it's really painful and insidious. And I get those requests at least once a week, and I generally, well, first of all, I rarely accept a friend request the first time around. I'm terrible. But two, I remember most of the folks that I have, and if I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, do I already have this one? Then I'll go look at my friends and see if I've got somebody in there. And then I've had several that I've been able to send a message back and say, oh, by the way, you've been hacked. Mm-hmm. Somebody just sent me a request and you're already a friend.
Yep. That's why the less friends you have on social media, the easier it is to monitor
keep track of all that, yeah.
And everything else like that, as opposed to having the 5,000 friends who knows who half of them are, having that inner circle a little bit tighter of those immediate folks that you're going to send those pictures to, that you communicate back and forth with that. And if it shows up where you weren't expecting it, what's the harm of trying to pick up the phone and call that person or track that person down? That way, as opposed to just blindly clicking on accept and seeing where it takes it from there. So we see so many romance scams that happen, and these can be very, very costly after they play out, because after a while you're not dealing with that person that's randomly calling you on the phone that you're going to have probably a little more trust issues with. You're dealing with a person that you've developed a relationship, whether it's over the course of a few months or whichever how long it is from there. But the ones we see typically meet through some kind of online place, whether it's a Facebook site, whether it's dating services that people sign up for, things of that, where people will go to, make connections with people. And there's so many out there and so many people that legitimately do that. But there's people out there also looking for those fraud situations to take advantage of folks. And so a lot of times we'll see through the fraudulent ones, communication, it's going to be entirely online. It's going to be all through Facebook Messenger. It's going to be all through email. It's going to be all through text. And having this outlandish story why they can't talk, whether it's in the military, whether it's for they're across seas and don't want to pay this and that, the next thing. But present these outlandish situations that people want to believe and unfortunately fall for a lot of times with that. Then it comes, once they develop your trust from there, then they kind of try to set the hook and get money from you, whether it's having you send money for visits, whether it's you helping them pay for fees and stuff like that on different situations. And we've heard ones from people had gold mines that they need to pay the taxes and fees on, to they've had oil tankers sitting in port that they can't unload a single drop of oil until they pay for this tax or this tariff. And because there's millions of dollars in oil on this ship, all they need is that $50,000 to start with that, and they'll pay you back that and even more. And with that whole relationship hanging in there too, because the trusted person with that. Like I said, we'll see a lot of these be military type accounts. Who wouldn't want to, if you're a single person, date a person in the military who's not more stable than that's going out and serving their country, doing good out in the world. And at the same time, for the scam person as well, they're not easy to talk to. They're not easy to get a hold of because they're overseas, because they're dealing with these situations. And you can keep those relationships to text only, through I am only, through different messages of that. And so it's not strange that they couldn't come over to your house and visit. They couldn't go out on a physical date or things of that nature. And people will believe these situations, and a lot of times they'll steal those great pictures that are so much available anywhere online and use those to their advantage.
Goodness gracious. And having learned of one just recently where she gave the man everything, including selling her house and sending him money. And now the daughters have been trying to work back through that to see if there's anything that they can do. And the one daughter told me, well, here's what's really difficult is now they feel like they've lost the love of their life.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been damaged emotionally, and now getting her to move forward to do anything is doubly difficult. This one's a terrible one.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. One that we see pop up quite a bit, and we're obviously expecting maybe a little bit more of this with the holidays coming up, is just puppy type scams. We typically don't see huge dollar losses on these, but once again, presenting those situations of these very rare breeds of animals, whether it's a dog, whether it's a cat. And here's a situation where you can buy them online for an extremely good price. People will go through and they'll take pictures from wherever they can find, create fake websites with the intent these people will call them up or go to them online, their online services, order these puppies, pay the smaller fee, and then later on have to pay this fee for the kennel, have to pay this fee for the shots, have to pay this fee for the shipping charges, and it starts racking up on that. Typically, we don't see these in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but thousands of dollars have come from these situations of people just trying to go out and find that particular breed they want online and find it for a good price. And the prevention piece, we already talked about those flags to look for early on, but just to kind of reiterate some of those kind of key factors, kind of key themes we talked about through here. If anyone mentions gift cards, just end it right there. Just end that conversation, delete that email, hang up on them, whichever else from that. No legitimate agency is going to take gift cards for anything.
So is this the most popular way to do it because it's the hardest to track?
It's very popular. It's probably the most popular because truthfully, if I have that $500 gift card from Target, if I'm on a computer, I can use that anywhere in the entire world to spend it. And so I don't have to be in the physical Target store right there, which sometimes they do have that to spend it. But it's so easy to quickly move the money off of there, to quickly use that. And once the money is off that gift card, unfortunately, it's not coming back on there ever.
Oh, goodness.
For the phone calls, I think we've said it a couple of times, you don't have to answer the phone. It's that simple. If someone is that important, needs to get a hold of you, they can leave a message. If you don't recognize that phone number on there, even if the Boise Police Department shows up on your caller ID, you don't have to answer it. If it's that important, we need to get a hold of you, we're going to leave a message to have you call us back with that. If the emails pop up, you don't recognize that, you weren't expecting that, don't click on it. If the texts pop up, they have these links in there, don't click on them either. The biggest piece there, we always want people to verify, whether that's talking to someone, talking to Mark, talking to the police department, talking to anyone, always verify the situation before proceeding. If it seems too good or too bad to be true, it is going to be almost every single time. But I can't emphasize enough, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to take that extra second, that extra minute, whatever it takes to talk to someone through the situation to see if this sounds legitimate to them. It sounds too good to be true, too bad to be true, too horrible of a situation with them. And the other methods of payment that we talked about earlier, other than gift cards, the Bitcoins, the money transfers, anything else like that, just have a huge pause when anyone else brings those up from there.
Well, Bitcoin is complicated enough that they know you won't understand it.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, and if you don't understand it, don't do it. Oh my heck, just don't even.
Exactly. Like we said, the privacy piece early on, if there are people are actually telling them to have to lie to the cashier, have to lie to everyone else you're talking to, have to lie to your significant other about the situation, that should be a huge red flag here. And this is an actual excerpt that another officer sent out of a scam victim he was dealing with. And the victim was even coached to what to say to the cashier. The target employees in this case at the time of purchase, so they would allow him to purchase $15,000 in gift cards. If I haven't mentioned gift cards before, I'm going to mention it probably at least one more time here. This was an actual text conversation provided to us by one of our local victims, where they were telling her to go and buy $100 gift cards, $100 iTunes cards in these cases, which you walk into a store, $100 gift card doesn't seem really that outlandish. It doesn't raise that many flags for a lot of people. But then they were telling them to go to the 15 other stores, 15 stores total, to buy $100 each. Once again, if you can't purchase all 15 in there, if that seems that suspicious, why it just seemed that much more suspicious to have to go to 15 different places to complete what should be what they think would be a legitimate transaction with them. So the flag's huge red flag with that. A few other things we tell people just to kind of clean their life up on the identity piece, theft piece of it. There's ways you can go through and opt out of receiving, unsolicited phone calls and unsolicited mailings from there. As so many of us get from credit card companies, from insurance companies. The one warning and indicate flag I have to put with everyone, because these opt-outs are through the actual credit bureaus. To do this, you're going to have to provide your social security number. And if you're comfortable with doing that, it's going to save you a lot of phone calls. It's going to save you a lot of mails, emails, things of that, to clean up your life a little bit, so you don't have to worry about mail theft. You don't have to worry about a few other things of people stealing identities, running up fraudulent purchases that way. I'm still a big fan of the do not call registry.
Yep.
At least when you have that phone call, that person calls up and they present you with this, they shouldn't be calling you, and you can hang up a little bit quicker that way. And it helps, if nothing else, get a few less phone calls. It helps you screen through what you're actually physically getting from people anymore with that. Unsolicited mail, there's through DM a choice. You can pay $1 fee or go to their website and opt out of a lot of these automatically mailing lists that people have you on, given you're not going to ever receive mail again, but it can reduce stuff around, and so people can't go through and steal your identity through other methods like that. You can do the exact same piece through email, where you sign up for their services, and those companies you don't have a relationship with can't send you those phishing emails and stuff like that. So once again, you don't have to worry about sorting through as much to see what is good and what's bad situation, what's a scam and what's legitimate business actually contacting you that way. I'm a big fan of freezing your credit, especially if you're not going to have to use it very much. You have to go through every single one of the credit bureaus to do it. There's a process they have you going through. That's the phone number online. You can call for each on the screen for each one of those, or a lot of times they'll direct you to an online method to do that. If nothing else, this is going to lock you down. I'm fairly convinced that our information is out there already, whether we like it or not. And so people have our social security numbers. People have all these things they can do to create fraudulent accounts in our names. It's only a matter of time before they show up. And so if you go through and freeze your credit, you're going to have it on there, and so they can't victimize you one other way by creating those fraudulent accounts in your name. If you have to do any spending, if you have to open up lines of credit, there's ways for you to unthaw it, which is a little bit extra process, a little bit extra work. But because so much information is out there, it prevents a lot of stuff from happening to us with what's already out, what's already out there not being used yet. We always tell people to sanitize your documents. You shred the password piece like that and make your passwords difficult. Don't have it be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't have it be password. Have the things that you're going to remember and keep those passwords in a safe space. And don't have every single one of your accounts have the exact same password, because once that one account gets hacked, once that one email gets hacked, they have access to everything. If you're online, have your firewalls, have your virus software, have it up to date and actually protecting you. I'm always very cautious of public Wi-Fi and what people will use it for. And so if you're going to use the public Wi-Fi to do whatever, at least have it not be accessing those financial accounts, those bank accounts, those Amazon accounts, things that are going to have those financial information on there. Because if it's unprotected Wi-Fi, which so many of these spots are, anyone sitting in that Wi-Fi range can access what you're transmitting back and forth and steal that information, steal those financial records from you. Still review those accounts at least monthly. Review your credit at least once per year, if not more often from there. Just keep track of those billing cycles. Every year, you get this bill at this point in time. Every month, you get this bill the third week of the month. Watch out for those and make sure they come on a regular basis. If they don't, follow up directly, follow up quickly. And it's cool if you can see if people have stolen your mail, done things in your accounts and transferred to other names, open other services in the name and stuff like that. Act as quickly as you can. And we always encourage you to report. I probably painted a pretty bleak picture of ever being able to recover a cent for any one of these scam situations. But the quicker you can report, the more chance we have, the more chance banks have, the more chance everyone has of recovering any money back that way. We had a local victim earlier this year, fall victim for a scam where they wired $110,000 to a person, which is going to be the down payment on their house and their business. They're going to run out of it. They acted very quickly. They got the process going. Luckily enough, working with the bank, working through law enforcement, we were able to recover back close to $100,000 of that $110,000, which allowed them to have a business, allowed them to have somewhere to live. And so the quicker we can act on these, the quicker you can act on these, it's going to be from there. A lot of times people don't report. A lot of times people will chalk it up to embarrassment. They don't want to tell their kids about it. They don't want to tell their grandkids about it. They don't want to tell the police about it because it's an embarrassing situation that they fell victim. They sent money. They gave gift cards to this person. They maybe don't know how to report these situations. They don't know who to call. They don't know who to reach out to for that. A lot of times people will chalk it up to losses. Talk to a gentleman that said, you know what, I understand I'm not getting my money back. I hope I don't fall for this again. Excuse me. And it was like a $10,000 loss in this case. A lot of times it is hopeless. They feel it's hopeless and nothing better going to become of it. But we still want you to report these situations. So if you've been a victim, first and foremost, call the bank, call the retailer, call whoever you had that loss at, where you bought the gift cards at, you wired the money through. My throat's getting a little dry, Mark.
You want a drink of water?
That would be great, actually. Let me pause.
Why don't you pause, and I'll bring one in.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And we're recording again. So, but like I was saying, we encourage people to report to that and act as quickly as they can with that. If there's any chance to recover some of these finances, the quicker they can report, the better it's going to be. So first and foremost, if it was your bank who sent the money through, that retailer who bought the gift cards through, contact them quickly because they're going to be the ones that first put that stop on that. But we always want you to contact the police department so we can investigate that. We can help you through that situation as well. But there's always other people who want to learn about scams because the more information we can share, the better off people are going to be. So, call us. You can call our tenant information number and run those situations by us, or you can just simply go through dispatch and report the information that way. BBV has a great scam tracker. Go through there to alert them. Attorney General's office will refer people to them many times as well. FTC has great resources and reporting methods through there. But I think most importantly of all of these, talk to your friends, talk to your family members, talking to your neighbors, talking to somebody about that. Share that information that is out there. Share those situations out there because ultimately the best way to deal with these is just to prevent people from being victimized to start with. And so if we don't have victims, we're all better off for it. You're better off for it. We're better off for it. Everyone's going to be better in that case.
Yeah, it won't hurt to get that information out there. And in fact, this would be a great help to other people, especially if you can help them to avoid a situation. So yeah, please let people know, ask questions, talk.
And speaking of questions, Mark, that is all I had for us today. I presented versions on this where we try to go through so much in detail, stuff like that. But I think trying to kind of recap it, just those three things that we talked about, looking for those situations where they want you to be private, looking for those situations where they encourage you not to tell anyone, that you have to go through those situations themselves. Looking for those situations where they present that urgency on there, where they're just kind of pushing to get you to act without talking to anyone else, without thinking. And finally, look for that payment piece up there. Once again, gift cards come up, wire transfers come up, those methods of payment that you might not understand come up with Bitcoin and things like that. Huge red flag right there. So, things to look out for.
Yeah, again, if they're trying to develop urgency and at the same time don't want you to tell anyone, that's a dead giveaway right there. And if you're still not convinced, and they say, listen, we're going to have you pay us in a way that you can't possibly get your money back or trace it. Oh my goodness, you got to stop. You got to hang up. You got to get off and then talk to somebody. Even if you didn't lose money in it, you could sure help somebody else. Well, thank you, Ed. Appreciate your time this afternoon. This is just such good information, and if it's not you that you're worried about, and it's maybe a parent, set up a process, set up a way to get hold of them and to ask the question, or come up with a password that says I'm worried and there's something going on, so that you can interrupt whatever that might be. Man, oh man, there's some life savings that have just absolutely been lost doing this. And we all got to pitch in and do everything that we can. So thank you. We've got your website information here, and crime prevention at cityofboise.org, and a phone number 570-6071. Keep passing along the information. So very good. Thank you. This is Ed Fritz, and he is with the Crime Prevention Unit.
You got it.
And I said it right. That's good. You're the supervisor. We should call you Supervisor Ed.
That works.
All right. Very good. Thank you. And have a good afternoon, sir.
Thank you.